Hello. The car behind me is a Nissan S13, and previously it used to have a leaking water pump, and with this engine the car works in a way that if you want to replace the water pump you have to disassemble the timing belt also. And there was no weird noises or anything from the engine before this whole process of changing the water pump. And now once I got everything installed back and the water pump doesn't leak anymore, I noticed that there's a very specific whining sound from the timing belt. Like with many engines, the timing belt it's the tension of the belt. It's adjusted when it's installed, and then the tensioner pulley is being torqued down, and in this case the tension is coming from a spring. And when I was installing everything back, I kind of thought that the spring could use a little help, so I gave it a little nudge with my hand to over tighten the belt, and now this is the result. So when the engine is running, you can hear the whining sound going up and down with the revs, and you can also see with your eyes the difference between these cam pulleys. The belt is vibrating heavily when the engine is idling and everything. And I could even, I don't recommend doing this naturally, but I could get rid of some of that sound, the whining sound, by pressing with a handle of this tool just ever so slightly in the middle of this belt right here. But all the free area where the belt is going in air, so it's not on any kind of pulley, it's gonna generate vibrations and therefore sounds. And unfortunately, to get rid of this sound, I have to disassemble everything again, and I have to reassemble it, and with the new tension on the belt I can test if the sound is gone. Right, so now I have everything taken off besides the timing belt itself. So I'm gonna run the car like this. It's gonna be fine if you run it for just a short period of time. It's not going to use the water pump or the alternator in that meantime, because there's no pulley or belt for that. But just to isolate the sound, that it's most definitely coming only from timing these pulleys and these gears and the timing belt itself, I'm just going to run the car very short period of time like this to find out if that's truly the source of that whining sound. I don't know how clearly you could hear that from the video, but it's definitely the timing belt. And now this is rather new belt, but like I said, everything else is the same as previously besides the water pump. And now the water pump wasn't running even, and still the same noise, or the whining sound. Sounds a bit like a supercharged engine with a cold air intake or something like that. But it's not supposed to sound like that. I don't know how much harm it would do to the engine if I just let it be like this. Naturally, it's causing too much stress on the bearing surfaces and on the belt itself. So I think that it will definitely not help the car at all. It's not an improvement. So while it's still winter time, I've got a few months still left to the summer season, to the driving season. I can just spend my nights disassembling everything and testing everything out, that everything works as they should. So to test this timing belt issue thing, I need to disassemble more. I need to take the radiator out, and to take the radiator out I have to drown all the coolant from this car, and yeah, it's gonna be rather big job, and I hate to do it, but anything that is required to get this engine as safe as possible is required. So I'm gonna do that once more, and then let's hear if we can get rid of that whining sound if I just let it sit on that spring tension as it was supposed to be and not torque it by hand at all. And here you can see the tensioner of the timing belts. This is the adjustable one, and this is just firmly in place. It's just a bearing. But this one is spring loaded, and it's got a key that you can use to tension it or release the tension down here. And when I was torquing this down last time, I kind of gave it a little squeeze so that the belt is tighter. I thought that would help because, and it's not my invention to do that, it was a guy on the internet, which is always a reliable source of information, said that the tension on the belt should be so that when you turn it from here, you can only get as much as a quarter turn. Now this doesn't turn a quarter turn now, but I kind of thought that the tighter the better. So now I'm gonna release this bolt, this nut, and let it loosey-goosey and spin the engine a bit, not by with the starter or anything, but from the crank with the big bolt. Rotate it a little bit so that the all the tensions and everything get subtle, and then just let it be with the spring itself. Tighten this down to the torque spec that Nissan gives, and then see how tight this is. So here we are again. Now this nut is loose, as you can see, and this crank pulley is loose also, and you can see a noticeable difference in the tightness of this belt, and you can also see the pulley move when I turn this. So I don't think that our friend from the internet was correct with the turning thing, but now it's a bit looser. I'm gonna still rotate this everything a bit more to get this tension right, and then torque it to spec, and then I need to reassemble everything and test if it still whines. The belt is now in with a new tension, and you can pretty much feel the difference in the belt when you're twisting it and feeling it with your fingers. I mean, the last time that I torqued it down, I really gave it a really good tension. It was not vibrating or didn't feel loose from any places at all, so maybe it was a bit too tight. Now I just let the idler or what do you call it, the pulley spring do all the tension. I didn't give it at all extra leverage from the key point. Now it's got the it's torqued down to spec. It's got the lower cam cover, I mean the timing belt cover on, and even the crank pulley. It's not the crank pulley is not quite yet torqued to spec, because I want to test if I still need to disassemble everything. So I'm gonna, even though the car doesn't have a radiator on, doesn't have pretty much anything on, I can still start it. It's gonna run for just a few seconds, and I'm gonna listen to it if it still gives me that whining sound. Alright, so that was it. It was clearly from the timing belt. It was just on too tight. Now I understand that this is a very specific problem. I mean, I think most of people nowadays don't even know how, or don't even want to change their own timing belts, or have anything to do with this side of working with cars. So I hope this video was helpful to you. And it was definitely the first time for me with a problem like this. I've never faced a problem like this before, and I'm still gonna look into it a bit more in depth from the internet, naturally. But then again, I don't know. This is something that I'm really curious, because now when I torque this to spec, the timing belt, you can see that it's still vibrating when you accelerate and decelerate the engine like I did. It's still vibrating some, but I think it's just supposed to do that. Those are really low frequency vibrations, though they don't cause any kind of sounds. But if it's too tight, then the belt gets to vibrate, and like a string on a guitar or violin, the tighter it is, the higher pitch tone you can hear from it. So maybe this is the idea of the whole belt tension thing, so that it's low enough. It's not as tight as you can get it, because the tightness can make it wear more quickly, and maybe heat, and even cause that kind of sound. But like I said, I don't know if this sound is harmful to your engine. It's kind of a high pitch sound, but it's definitely not supposed to sound like that. Engine is supposed to sound, you should only be able to hear the sound of your exhaust, your intake, the airflow, and maybe the injectors, but nothing else. So like I said, I hope this was helpful to you. At least it was very relieving to me to find out that it was actually the timing belt, and now I'm again a bit more safe side with this engine. So thank you, and have a nice day.